I'm Jude, and I'm a high school intern at SMUD for the summer of 2025. Just a quick disclaimer before getting into the video. All of the views and the data shared over the video's duration are of my own production. Thank you, and I appreciate your viewership.
Many of you are aware that the Earth is burdened in some way. We've called it global warming, climate change, the climate crisis. Now, these terms don't all mean the same thing, but we use them pretty interchangeably. So let's think of this concept as environmental strain, being the ongoing depletion of resources, resilience, and overall health in nature. When I think of environmental strain, these are a couple of objects that come to mind, and you might have similar ideas. But what about this mouse? Well, this mouse is actually broken. It doesn't work. And when pieces of technology can no longer be used, sometimes they are repurposed, but they're more often outright discarded. And when that happens, that technology becomes what's known as e-waste, or solid electronic waste. Any of these things you see here are considered e-waste when they're thrown away. Most e-waste is composed of erratic trace metals and polymers, so when the waste is set in a landfill or burned by an incinerator, the runoff is gravely incompatible with the surrounding soil, water, and air. It's troublesome, but just like with any problem or any crisis, it needs proper and effective exploration, analysis, and mitigation. In 2021, the United Nations projected that each person would end up generating 7.6 kilograms worth of e-waste, coming out to around 57 million metric tons of e-waste in that year. But the following year, in 2022, that measure came to 62 million metric tons, or 62 billion kilograms worth of e-waste. And of that e-waste, half were metals and half were plastics or other materials, but in any case, this was a record high. The recorded e-waste had nearly doubled that which was allocated in 2010. And of the e-waste that was accounted for, 22% was recycled formally, 26% was recycled informally, and 29% was handled with underdeveloped infrastructure, but 23% was stored as residual waste. And it's that residual waste that ends up contributing a lot to the negative runoff that we see from e-waste as a whole. And really, e-waste only accounts for 2 to 3% of global waste, but even still, its impacts can far outweigh the majority when it comes to the detriment that it places on its surroundings when it's handled and stored improperly. And it came to me that we need clarity on issues like this. So, in order to get that clarity, let's hear from someone on the hazmat team.
We get hazardous, e-waste, even hazardous waste. We have designated area where we set it aside, and then and by law, we're actually required to get rid of it and just have it laying around. And it's the same thing with e-waste. With e-waste, because it's technically it's universal waste. It's classified under universal waste. So we have a year to get rid of it. I don't keep it here,
Yeah.
especially like e-waste or batteries because like well right now it's no problem because it's summer, but during the winter when it rains a lot, you don't want stuff getting wet because you'll have it'll run down
Yeah.
even though it's not really classified as hazardous waste.
Even that tiny little mouse that I showed you in the beginning can end up having components in it that do some real environmental harm. Most have a battery cartridge, an LED light, a printed circuit board, and what those things contain are called persistent organic pollutants, or POPs. And some technical terms for those are polybrominated diphenyl ethers, polychlorinated biphenyls, but then they also contain heavy metals like chromium and cadmium and lead and copper. And so it's imperative that we handle these materials with care and make sure that they're going to the right places.
I mean, the way we're doing it right now, I think it's pretty it's pretty set up real easy, and I think it's efficient because
Mm-hmm.
I mean it doesn't really pile up. in our area, because I think any vendors that we get for either for e-waste, hazardous waste, our environmental department usually has to do an audit, and so they have like a standard that they follow that each vendor has to fulfill in order for them to be approved as a SMUD vendor.
A great way to facilitate the sustainable treatment of e-waste is through the circular economy, where waste material is recovered and periodically reused in production. SMUD partners with corporations like Lenovo and Sear in outsourcing its e-waste. I was able to get in touch with one of our IT supervisors and hardware specialists to determine how we approach these partnerships and what values we look for. And both of the vendors I mentioned are entirely dedicated to advancing environmentally conscious practices and reducing the magnitude of pollutants present in our planet. Part of our contract with Lenovo entails the complete restriction of waste units from ending up in landfills. Even if an entire e-waste unit isn't suitable for reuse, the parts of the unit that can be used are harvested, and any remaining components that can't be refurbished are responsibly recycled. And specifically for those utilizing their asset recovery services, Lenovo provides their own curated circular economy statement, which reports a summary of collected assets, along with an overview of processing types and the breakdown of their weight. On the other side, Sear has been providing cost-effective e-waste recycling services for years, with their methods now ranging from sorting, weighing, and counting, both manual dismantling and machine processing, as well as post-processing refinement. Not only do Sear's tactics use about 30% less energy than standard waste shredders, they also process everything on site, ensuring overall security and accountability in custody documentation. In the background is an older report presented by KCRA detailing the effort and effectiveness behind all of these methods.
On Friday, you can help feed the green machine. Businesses and residents are invited to drop off old TVs, stereos, computer printers, VCRs, cell phones, anything with a circuit board and a cord. And this time, all of that junk will go toward fighting diabetes.
There are definitely many emerging solutions when it comes to handling e-waste in ways that are not only effective, but beneficial. And I'd say that's warranted, considering we're on track to produce 82 million tons of e-waste by 2030. In any case, we're living in a period of sophistication. Things are rapidly advancing, and so things are rapidly becoming obsolete, and we end up with too much to recycle and too much to sequester and put places. But even in the face of all these issues, SMUD has proven themselves a champion of protecting our environment and its resources. As we've seen, even the IT department plays an instrumental role in reaching zero carbon by 2030. In order to keep moving forward in this direction, what we need is exactly what I mentioned in the beginning. We need effective exploration, examining an issue and determining what needs the most focus. We need effective analysis, employing divergent thinking to seek the best avenues by which to craft an effective solution. And we need effective mitigation, executing and implementing those solutions in ways that are ethically conscious and accessible. But even before any of those things can happen, there is one thing that needs to come first, and that is to think. And thinking is essentially looking at the world and asking yourself, what needs to be fixed? Where can innovation happen? What can I understand? And where can I apply that understanding to help the people I know and even the people I don't? I believe that if we continue cherishing those values and acting upon them, that's how we're going to continue powering forward together.